朋友们，美国记者对拉夫罗夫的采访还有另外一个高光片段。从这个片段当中，我有2点非常重要的思考，想和大家汇报一下。大家先仔细听一听这个片段。
It was sabotaged by the government which was established after the coup d'etat in Ukraine. There was a demand that they enter into a direct dialogue with the people who did not accept the coup. There was a demand that they promote economic relations with that part of Ukraine, and so on and so forth. None of this was done. The people in Kyiv were saying we would never talk to them directly, and this is in spite of the fact that the demand to talk to them directly was endorsed by the Security Council. And they said they are terrorists, we would be, fighting them, and they would be dying in cellars because we are stronger. Had the coup in February 2014, had it not happened, and had the deal which was reached the day before between the then president and the opposition implemented, Ukraine would have stayed one piece by now with Crimea in it. It's absolutely clear. They did not deliver on the deal, instead they staged the coup. The deal, by the way, provided for creation of a government of national unity in February 2014 and holding early elections, which the then president would have lost. Everybody knew that. But they were impatient, and they took the government buildings next morning. They went to this Maidan Square and announced that they created the government of the winners. Compare the government of national unity to prepare for elections and the government of the winners. How can the people whom they, in their view, defeated, how can they pretend that they respect the authorities in Kyiv? The right for self-determination is the international legal basis for decolonization process, which took place in Africa on the basis of this charter principle, right for self-determination. The people in the colonies, they never treated the colonial powers, colonial masters, as somebody who represent them, as somebody whom they want to see in the structures which govern those lands. By the same token, the people in east and south of Ukraine, people in Donbass and Novorossiya, they don't consider the Zelensky regime as something which represents their interests. How can they, when their culture, their language, their traditions, their religion, all this was prohibited?
Yes.
And the last point is that if we speak about the UN Charter, resolutions, international law, the very first article of the UN Charter, which the West never recalls in the Ukrainian context, says respect human rights of everybody, irrespective of race, gender, language, or religion. Take any conflict. The United States, UK, Brussels, they would interfere saying, oh, human rights have been grossly violated. We must restore the human rights in such and such territory. On Ukraine, never, ever, they mumbled the words human rights. Seeing these human rights for the Russian and Russian-speaking population being totally exterminated by law. So when people say, let's resolve the conflict on the basis of the Charter, yes. But don't forget that the Charter is not only about territorial integrity, and territorial integrity must be respected only if the governments are legitimate and if they respect the right of their own people.
I want to go back to what you said a moment ago about the introduction or the unveiling of the hypersonic weapons system that you said was a signal to the West. What signal exactly? I think many Americans are not even aware that this happened. What message were you sending by showing it to the world?
Well, the message is that you, the United States, and the allies of the United States, who also provide this long-range weapons to the Kiev regime, they must understand that we would be ready to use any means not to allow them to succeed in what they call strategic defeat of Russia. They fight for keeping their hegemony over the world, on any country, any region, any continent. We fight for our legitimate security interests. They say, for example, 1991 borders. Lindsey Graham, who visited some time ago Zelensky for another talk, he bluntly, in presence of Zelensky, I think, said that Ukraine is very rich with rare earth metals, and we cannot leave this richness to the Russians. We must take it. We fight, so they fight for the regime which is ready to sell or to give to the West all the natural and human resources. We fight for the people who have been living on these lands, whose ancestors were actually developing those lands, building cities, building factories for centuries and centuries. We care about people, not about natural resources, which somebody in the United States would like to keep and to have Ukrainians just as servants sitting on these natural resources. So the message which we wanted to sell by testing in real action this hypersonic system is that we will be ready to do anything to defend our legitimate interest. We hate even to think about war with the United States, which will take, nuclear character. Our military doctrine says that the most important thing is to avoid a nuclear war. And it was us, by the way, who initiated in January 2022 the message, the joint statement by the leaders of the 5 permanent members of the Security Council, saying that we will do anything to avoid confrontation between us, acknowledging and respecting each other's security interests and concerns. This was our initiative. And the security interests of Russia were totally ignored when they rejected, about the same time, when they rejected the proposal to conclude a treaty on security guarantees for Russia, for Ukraine, in the context of coexistence and in the context when Ukraine would not be ever member of NATO or any other military bloc. These security interests of Russia were presented to the West, to NATO and to the United States. In December 2021, we discussed them several times, including during my meeting with Tony Blinken in Geneva in January, late January 2022, and this was rejected.
朋友们，这个视频当中，俄罗斯的外交部长说，这场战争发生的一个主要原因就是乌克兰东部的俄罗斯人遭受到了人权方面的危机。这一点不知道大家会想到什么？我的想法就是在数十年以来，美国用反恐的名义，用人权高于主权的名义，在全世界各地发动了多个战争，比如说阿富汗战争、伊拉克战争、叙利亚战争、利比亚战争等等。朋友们，那么俄罗斯口中所说的人权与美国方面究竟有何不同啊？ 如果乍一看一样啊，你们是一样的国家，都是打着人权高于主权的幌子对其他国家发动打击。但是呢，这里面我认为还是有着本质的不同。其中最大的一个不同就是，俄罗斯发动这场战争，他救的是自己的同胞，他是为自己的同族发动战争。而美国发动的战争呢，他是救其他的人，救阿富汗的人，救伊拉克的人，救叙利亚的人，救利比亚的人。朋友们，那你说哪一个比较真实呢？如果你有很多兄弟姐妹在其他地方遭遇了危机，你去救他，我相信真诚的可能性极大。但是如果有另一波和你根本素未平生的人发生了危机，你去救他，你说我是发自真诚，朋友们，我总感觉有点不相信呢。毕竟在美国国内有这么多人也需要美国政府的救济，他有去救济吗？没有啊。看中国大陆有非常多跑到美国这些人过着流浪汉一样的生活，为什么他不去救济？都送到你家门口了，你不救济，你说我要到其他国家用军事的手段去救济那么多平民，开什么玩笑？所以最大的区别就是一个真一个假。另外一个问题，在全世界很多地方都有华人聚集，在美国有，在加拿大有，在印度尼西亚有，在马来西亚有，新加坡更是以华人为主了。那么我的问题就出现了，如果在这些地方再出现了针对华人的具有系统性的人权危机，你同不同意中国人民解放军直接出兵呢？我是完全同意的。当时印尼发生的排华事件，我希望全球华人永远都不要忘记。那种排华事件当时是因为咱们中国大陆没有能力，咱们海军不行，台湾海军当时比我们强大的多，他没有去。如果现在还发生排华事件，我相信咱们的军舰立刻就会开到那儿。之前在马来西亚就出现过针对华人不友好的声音，中国驻马来西亚大使馆就发生了，在大马的华人应该都记得。所以我认为如果华人在某个国家被迫害了，我们也会借此发动战争。在这里面，我认为美国所说的人权高于主权有道理，而且我们救的是自己的同胞更有道理。所以我认为俄罗斯的外交部长说的挺好，我们就这么干，能怎么样？